What's up guys, welcome back to Fancy Goldfish Fanatics. Today we're going to be having a look at the HULX Goldfish food. Now the supplier of HULX Goldfish food in the UK and Europe did send me these 4 packets of food. So they did send me 4 packs of food to try out and see what I think about it. So I've got 2 kilos of this food in total. Each package contains about 500 grams. This one is the Supreme Muscle and Whey one. We've also got the Muscle and Mass Gain here as well. Then we've got the vegan one here. And finally, we've got the Super Red food as well. So I've got 4 packs. I will say they did send me these free of charge, so I have not paid for these. So this is not a paid promotion as well. This is exactly what I think on this food, and there is no sort of like hidden agenda here. This is exactly what I think of this food in today's video. Now obviously, as you can see, the packets are sealed and I haven't actually opened this food yet, and I thought I would save that for another video where we have a look at the fish eating it, and then I really want to just try it out for sort of 2 or 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks before I sort of do a review on it and see what I actually think. But in today's video, we're just going to be looking at the different packs that we've got, having a close look at the ingredients, initial thoughts, what I think of this food, because obviously I do get to try out loads of different foods. Lots of people send me different foods to try out, see what I think. Obviously you're not going to notice any massive difference, especially with large fish like the large Aranda here. If you really want to do a feed trial and trial specific foods, you will need to use a lot smaller fish in a more controlled environment where you can actually see the differences. Now obviously I would say each one of these packs needs its own video to really break down and see what's in it. So I think in the future, probably the near future, over the next couple of months, I will do a video on each of these food packs, having a close look at the ingredients and seeing what I think. So first up, when I saw the packs, I was quite impressed. So we got 500 gram packs. I believe these retail for around 25 to 30, maybe 32 pounds. So for half a kilo of food, I feel like that's quite in line with generic Fancy Goldfish brands. I feel like it's a little bit cheaper than other foods. I think the Hikari food is a little bit more expensive gram for gram, and it sort of runs along the same price and similar prices to other foods out there. Now obviously the packages are quite striking in colour. They are quite large packages, so they really grab your eye, and I really like the way they've been packaged. Obviously inside, this food is actually packed within another plastic bag just to keep them fresh. We also have the expiry dates on the front as well. So this one runs out in just over a year. So we've got about 12 to 13 months on this one. This one didn't have an expiry date, which is the only thing. So I'm not sure if maybe because it's quite new in the UK and Europe, maybe they're having a few troubles with their sort of packaging and stuff like that. So I'm not sure if that will change as we go on. And you can see just here, it has actually been labeled whether it's floating or sinking, and also the pellet size as well. Glad to see I've got the small pellets, which is exactly what I want. I don't want to get any large pellets really, because these goldfish, no matter how big they are, the smaller pellets are easier for them to digest. So first up, let's take a look at the vegan food, because I have not seen a fish food or a goldfish food being vegan on the market. So this is really, really interesting. As we know, goldfish are herbivorous fish. They also have an element of sort of insects and animal protein in their diet in the wild type scenario. So it's really interesting to see we've got a vegan food which is full of lots of vitamins, minerals, lots of organic products. Like, what have we got in here? We got peanut, we got vegetable meal, we got green beans, which is really nice to see that there's more of a vegetable based diet on the market. Now, having a quick glance at this, I'm not going to go into too much depth into these foods. It's got 42% all plant protein, which is a nice protein example in compared to some of the other foods. Like when you look at these guys, they've got 60% protein, which I would say is a little bit too much for goldfish. However, on the flip side, if you mix them together, it would be much more of a balanced diet. Also, I'm just thinking about a 60% protein diet. Does this potentially mean that we actually need to feed less of this food to get the same impact that a lower protein diet may have? That may be something to think about. And also, because it is at 60% protein, maybe that protein is making up the bulk of the diet, and it actually means that there's less fillers in this diet potentially. A lot of the time we get lots of brewer's yeast, wheat flour, wheat meal, and we get lots of carbohydrates that the goldfish really can't digest very well at all, and they're sort of fillers to substantiate the pellet and basically allow the pellet to become strong and make sure it doesn't break down as soon as that hits the water. So potentially having the higher protein level could mean that there are better ingredients and sort of a smaller amount of undigestible carbohydrates or undigestible proteins as well. So that is very interesting. A couple of things I did notice having a look at the packaging. Obviously we do have a few spelling mistakes. It has Stromach blowed on there as well, so there is a spelling mistake, but I do know this food has come from Asia and it is an Asian brand, so potentially there's just a few spelling mistakes on there. Obviously if I see a product that has some spelling mistakes on there, it has to go through quite a rigorous manufacturing process, and if I do see spelling mistakes, it does get a few alarm bells ringing. But overall, I'm looking at the pellets, they are all very different, which is interesting because obviously sometimes you expect companies to cut corners and potentially just repackage certain pellets and add a few different ingredients here and there, which obviously a lot of companies do. But obviously you can see these are the vegan pellets, as you can see here. And then if we look, the Supreme 60% growth has a slightly different pellet size, pellet color as well. Obviously this Supreme diet has a different composition as well. We've got 10 amino acids, we've got Axaxanthin, we've got 3 times multivitamins compared to their standard food as well. And then when we look at the Axaxanthin based food, which is their Super Red 60, you can also see the pellets are a different color. Hopefully the camera's sort of picking that up, but the pellets are a different color, and we can see that this pellet is actually red due to the Axaxanthin percentage within it. Now another thing that jumps out to me about the sort of super red food is it does say there is 7% Axaxanthin in it, which is a massive amount of Axaxanthin. That is nearly 1/10 of this pellet. So if that is true, that means this is really gonna enhance the colors on your fish, and it's definitely gonna be interesting because Axaxanthin is a very expensive ingredient, and they use it regularly in the salmonid industry in aquaculture, where they add Axaxanthin to the diet, which is a carotenoid which helps increase the color and red pigment in the flesh of the fish. So a lot of trout farms will actually feed Axaxanthin based diets to their fish so they get a more deep orange red color in the flesh, which leads consumers to buy it because they feel like it's closer to the color of salmon rather than that really pale pastel pink color. So if this diet does have that 7% Axaxanthin in, I'm surprised it's not more expensive, because Axaxanthin is a really expensive ingredient and you wouldn't normally see it above even 1% of the diet. So that is very interesting. Obviously in the high protein diet as well, we've got some fish meal. We've also got whey protein in there. Now I would say having a high protein percentage like the majority of these foods is good for young fish and fry, but as I mentioned, having older fish, having parent fish, not so good. If their fish are producing eggs or building up their egg reserves, then obviously having a high protein is good, but I would say maybe mixing in the vegan pellet might be more appropriate if you do have larger fish. But I would say having a 60% protein is definitely going to bring young fish on very quickly. Obviously the market is flooded with different types of pellets, and obviously brands are trying to catch your eye, trying to share different style marketing techniques. So it is going to be interesting to see how this food does cope and with the fish, how the fish pass it through their bodies, if they enjoy eating it, and if I notice any significant differences. Now I'm actually about 5 to 6 days away from finishing the current food I'm using, and then I'm solely going to be using this food along with some rapashi and frozen food as I normally feed as well. So I've got 2 kilos of this, so it's going to be interesting to see how these 2 kilos make a difference on the fish, whether I notice any difference in water clarity, because obviously having a high protein diet, if the fish do not absorb all of that protein, it is going to pass out of the fish as urea and ammonia. So potentially we could have some dirtier filters, or we could notice a potential issue with some water clarity. So that's going to be interesting to try as well. This one as well looks quite interesting with a high percentage of mussel meal, which is a crustacean, which I would say is quite a good thing to have within the diet. And all of these diets have slightly different ingredients. If I just get this one up to the camera for you here, hopefully it focuses in and you can actually read that. But it's quite interesting to see the different ingredient compositions each diet has and how the pellets sort of differentiate from each other. I'm not sure if the camera's quite going to focus in on that for you, but hopefully you can see it. But that is really my first impressions on the HULX Goldfish food. If you've tried it at home, please let me know what you think down below. It definitely has huge potential, and I'm really hoping this is going to be a good food, because if it's good, then I might stick with this one, because I've tried lots of different foods and this one has really sort of jumped out to me, and it's a little bit of a game changer with the range, especially with this vegan food as well. That's going to be very, very interesting, and I probably will combine sort of 2 or 3 of these to feed at once. But that is it for today's video. If you do have any questions or you want any more information on the HULX food, you can leave a little comment down below and I'll let you know what I think of it, and also let you sort of answer any questions you may have, or try my best to answer them. But as I said, that is it for this video. We're going to do a feeding video very, very soon. Try it out and also go into those ingredients and break them down. But thank you all for watching. Remember to keep those water changes up, and happy fish keeping.